Across the wild, unpredictable waters that separate Denmark and Sweden, an impossible vision began to take shape. A bridge-tunnel hybrid, stretching nearly 16 kilometers, connecting two nations, and forever changing the face of Scandinavia. For more than 100 years, the world's best minds said it couldn't be done. The Øresund Strait was too deep, the weather too fierce, the shipping lanes too busy, and the politics far too complicated. But against all odds, Denmark and Sweden joined forces and pulled off one of the most ambitious engineering feats Europe had ever seen. How did they conquer the elements, the engineering, and the egos to make the Øresund Bridge a reality? Today, we uncover the untold story behind one of the world's most iconic and improbable structures. Why nobody could build the Øresund Bridge until Denmark and Sweden did. If you love stories of impossible builds and extreme engineering, hit that like button and subscribe for more mega projects from around the world. For centuries, the only way to cross the Øresund Strait was by ferry. Every day, thousands of commuters, tourists, and trucks faced long waits, unpredictable delays, and the ever-present possibility of rough seas or sudden storms. The strait wasn't just a stretch of water. It was a barrier dividing families, businesses, and dreams. Imagine living in Malmö and working in Copenhagen, or vice versa. What should have been a quick trip became an ordeal. Missed connections, lost business opportunities, and endless hours spent waiting in terminals. The ferry system was stretched to its breaking point, and as Copenhagen and Malmö grew into economic powerhouses, the need for a better connection became urgent. By the late 20th century, trade between Denmark and Sweden was booming. Thousands of people dreamed of living in one country and working in the other. But the ferry bottleneck was holding the region back. Delays, cancellations, and even accidents were common. The question was no longer if a fixed link was needed, but whether technology, politics, and nature could ever allow it. The dream of linking Denmark and Sweden wasn't new. As early as the 19th century, Visionaries proposed tunnels, floating bridges, even seasonal ice roads. But every plan collapsed. Wars, economic crises, and political disagreements always got in the way. After World War II, the idea resurfaced. The world was rebuilding, and Scandinavia was eager to modernize. Yet, for decades, the project stalled. Environmental concerns, funding battles, and shifting political winds meant that every time the idea seemed close, it slipped away again. But the vision never died. In the 1980s, as Europe moved toward greater unity, the economic and social benefits of a fixed link became impossible to ignore. A new generation of politicians, engineers, and business leaders began to push for change. They saw the Øresund not as a barrier, but as an opportunity, a chance to unite two nations and create a powerful new region. It took years of negotiation, environmental studies, and public debate. The planning process was painstaking. How do you build a structure that won't block one of Europe's busiest shipping lanes? How do you protect the fragile marine environment? How do you convince two countries, each with their own laws, traditions, and priorities, to work as one? In 1991, after decades of setbacks, a historic agreement was signed. The Øresund Bridge would finally become reality, a symbol of Scandinavian unity and promise of a new era. Building the Øresund Bridge meant facing some of the toughest engineering challenges in Europe. The strait is deep and wild, with powerful currents and unpredictable weather. The shipping lane is one of the busiest in the world. Blocking it with a bridge wasn't an option. Engineers had to dream bigger. A bridge-tunnel hybrid, with a cable-stayed bridge stretching nearly 8 kilometers, an artificial island called Peberholm, and a 4-kilometer underwater tunnel. the longest combined road and rail tunnel of its kind at the time. The bridge itself is a masterpiece. Its central span rises 57 meters above the water, tall enough for even the largest ships. The piers rest on foundations driven deep into the seabed, designed to withstand storms, ice, and the constant vibration of trains and cars. Peberholm, the artificial island, was built entirely from material dredged from the sea. It acts as a transition between the bridge and tunnel, as well as a unique ecological experiment. The tunnel posed its own set of challenges. 20 massive concrete segments, each weighing 55,000 tons, had to be constructed on land, then floated out and lowered into place with pinpoint precision. Engineers developed new techniques for waterproofing, ventilation, and fire safety. The dual road-rail design added even more complexity. Every element had to be strong enough for heavy rail traffic and safe enough for thousands of cars and trucks every day, in all weather conditions. International collaboration was key. Specialists from Denmark, Sweden, and around the world contributed expertise, technology, and sheer determination. The team used the latest computer modeling, satellite positioning, and construction equipment, pushing the limits of what was possible. Even simple tasks became massive undertakings. For example, just moving the precast tunnel sections from the casting yard to their final position required a fleet of tugboats and a choreography of precise timing, tides, and weather. Any error could mean disaster, and at times, the team held their breath as storms threatened to undo months of careful planning. Behind the concrete and steel were thousands of people, engineers, planners, and workers from both countries, united by a single goal. For many, building the Øresund Bridge was more than a job. It was a legacy. Workers braved harsh weather, long hours, and dangerous conditions, especially underwater, where divers and tunnelers faced immense risk. But there was pride too. Families would visit the site, watching history unfold. Engineers kept journals, detailing both triumphs and setbacks. Some workers even met their future spouses on the project. The bridge became a community, a place where language barriers were broken and lifelong friendships were forged. For many, it was the chance of a lifetime to build something that would stand for generations. There were moments of exhaustion and fear, long shifts in freezing rain, or tense days when a storm threatened to undo weeks of progress. But there was also celebration, topping out ceremonies, milestone parties, and the shared joy of seeing the bridge and tunnel finally meet in the middle. And when the project was finally finished, it wasn't just the workers who felt the impact. Families who had been separated by the strait for generations could now visit each other with ease. Students could live in one city and attend university in the other. New friendships, new businesses, and even new marriages blossomed thanks to the bridge. The journey to completion was anything but smooth. Fierce storms battered the site, sometimes halting work for days. Technical setbacks forced redesigns. At one point, a tunnel segment shifted unexpectedly, requiring emergency repairs. Environmentalists raised concerns about marine life, leading to strict new standards and constant monitoring. Peberholm itself was an experiment. Could an artificial island become a thriving ecosystem? But the team pressed on. In August 1999, after 4 years of relentless effort, the final segment was set. The Øresund Bridge was ready to connect two nations. On July 1, 2000, the first train and car crossed the strait, carrying the Danish and Swedish royal families side by side. The opening was a moment of national pride for both countries. Tens of thousands lined the shores to watch the first crossing. The bridge was celebrated not only as an engineering triumph, but as a symbol of hope and unity in a rapidly changing world. Since opening, The Øresund Bridge has transformed the region. What once took hours by ferry now takes just 35 minutes by train or car. Thousands now commute daily between Denmark and Sweden, and cross-border marriages, businesses, and friendships have flourished. Commerce and tourism have boomed, boosting both economies. Peberholm, once a barren pile of dredged earth, has become a unique nature reserve, home to hundreds of plant and animal species, some found nowhere else in Denmark. The bridge isn't just an economic powerhouse, it's a cultural icon, a symbol of unity, and a model for international cooperation. It's also a living laboratory for how infrastructure and nature can coexist. Environmentalists who once feared the worst now visit Peberholm to study its unique ecosystem. Rare orchids, butterflies, and birds have all made the island home. Scientists from around the world come to learn how a construction project can actually enhance biodiversity. For commuters, the bridge has meant new opportunities, better jobs, affordable housing, and a richer cultural life. For businesses, it opened up new markets and made the region a magnet for investment. For families, it made cross-border life not only possible, but easy. The Øresund Bridge is more than a link between two countries. It's a testament to vision, innovation, and the human spirit. What seemed impossible for generations became a reality through determination and collaboration. As we look to the future of extreme engineering, the story of the Øresund Bridge reminds us, no challenge is too great when nations dare to dream big and build together. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey across the Øresund Strait, hit like, subscribe, and share your favorite engineering marvel in the comments. For more iconic bridges and impossible builds, stay tuned to Xtreme Builds.